I like most Chicagoans, especially Steve Bartman. He's my favorite. The guy from Virginia got the Chicago joke. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. So growing up as a BK kid, that's what we call ourselves in the club. It was always kind of embarrassing because like my parents thought they were super cool because they worked at Burger King. We would drive into the drive-thru and they would order their Whopper like you or I might. But at the end, and they knew they were doing it because they would like stop and look around the car to make sure me and my brother were paying attention. They'd say, "And can you 0.5 that for me?" And what does 0.5 mean, Mom? Oh, that's Burger King speak for cut it in half. They know what I'm talking about. Like, you're not cool, Mom. And so that's how I got here. Just hopped on a plane, embarrassed by my mom, and I'm here. But I want to talk a little bit about the Whopper that is JavaScript. Because the JavaScript community is exploding and growing faster than anything I've seen in my lifetime. NPM has over 500,000 packages on it now. To put that in perspective, NuGet, the .NET version of this, has 90,000, and they get 500 new packages a day. It's crazy growth. It's by far the biggest software repository in the world. There was 1.6 million pull requests that featured JavaScript on GitHub in 2016 alone. And so these are the numbers that if you've been to a bunch of conferences like this, you've heard people in the JavaScript community kind of tout, and they're excited about it, and I get it. These are exciting numbers. There's another very successful entity that I know of that likes to tout their numbers. It's these guys. It's not just billions. It's billions and billions served. That's a lot of billions. Like, how insecure is McDonald's that they have to tell us how many hamburgers they serve? 1 million, a billion, a trillion, a zillion. Who cares? Does anybody know what this means? 89 million sold. Great job, guys. I'll take one. Just one hamburger is all I need. So I want to go and talk to like the marketing people at McDonald's. I'm pretty sure this is the guy who's running marketing at McDonald's. And I want to let him know, like, hey, you guys are doing great. How about you just have a sign that says McDonald's? We're doing very well. And what I think they're actually trying to do with this advertising here, the billions and billions, is they're trying to intimidate the cows. They want cows to just come on and be like, we've seen the signs. We're goners. Just put us on a bun now. Like, that would make their business model so much better. And unfortunately, I think that these numbers that we tout in the JavaScript community is turning us devs into cows. Sorry, that might have been a little personal for some people like me. We see all of these numbers, and I don't go a day without having a conversation with the JavaScript developer who doesn't suffer from JavaScript fatigue. What do I do with all of these options? And so there's ways to get around it. Some of my favorite are just like choosing based on GitHub stars. That is a great way to drive your business forward. Or the other popular method is doing whatever the hell Dan Abramoff says to do. If you do that, you'll be set. And of course, even if you're masters at these two, in the real world, you'll still rewrite your front end every 6 weeks. All right, now we're getting this. All right, cool. But basically, what I want to talk about today with the rest of my time is how can we embrace this amazing, huge, growing ecosystem and do what Burger King did and still give it to you in your way. Get the ingredients that you want prepared the way that you need to make you and your business and your applications successful. Now, your way means you get to build whatever you want, however you want. And that leads to some interesting creations. Some of them are just kind of simple. Maybe they're a little overindulgent and heavy. We've all built apps that look like that. Sometimes we might get really into some gimmicky library that there's no reason for it to exist. I've been to companies when I was consulting who literally just pull in the entire NPM directory and everything goes into their app. The most common one is people get really excited about one feature and that's basically all they use in their application. It's actually pretty common. It happens a lot. And my favorite that I've seen is the Franken apps that for some reason have to use Angular and React at the same time. I call that the McWhopper. So what I want to do for the rest of the session is cover some tech and some demos to show you how I think you can be successful having JavaScript your way. And so the first bit of technology that I get excited about is Hadouken, right? Built by the OpenFin folks. And so there's already been quite a bit of conversation. Can I get a show of hands? How many people are using OpenFin right now or Hadouken in some way? Okay, just a few of you. Great. So what I want to do is I'm going to switch over to some code here. I'm a tech guy at heart. I've built a very simple web app just using Node.js on the back end and React on the front end, and I open-finitized it. And basically, little hand wave here, effectively I've added this app.json manifest that you're looking at on my screen right now. It's about 30 lines of code, some properties. What that allows me to do is now when I launch my web app, it's been open-finitized. So let me go ahead and say open-fin. Let's launch the app. I don't want to launch the app. And we'll do a config. We'll point at that config file that I just showed you. So when I run that, my app will pop up. And what you'll see is it's a desktop app. It's built using web technologies, but it has its own Chrome. I can drag that Chrome around. It's got its own taskbar down here. It loads up. And what this app is I'm not a finance guy. I like me some money. But that's about where it ends. So I built this little e-commerce app where you can buy and sell stickers from famous open source and kind of cool tech tools. You can also do a search on Flickr if you wanted to find something like, I don't know, deep dish. And oh, this looks like a great sticker for me to go and create. So this is the app, and it's been open-finitized. Now, one of the things that Dan was just showing that was pretty cool, and the gentleman asked a question about, is how does this interop with other applications that we might be using, right? We know that we like to have all of these widgets. Like I said, I'm not a financial services guy, so I don't have like some cool candlestick charting widget thing, but as a technologist, I do have this cool widget, which is called my repo stats. And it shows me the stats of any GitHub repo. And using the OpenFin inner application bus, which I wired up right here in this one line of code, I can now tell any of the other apps on my desktop or in my ecosystem that I have selected a sticker. So here's my repo browser. Here's my stickers. Let's go ahead and look at Go. When I click on Go in the Browse app, automatically in the stats, I get to see some of the info about Go from GitHub, right? So very simply, we're being able to interoperate between a .NET application, a web-based application. Like Dan said, this will work in JavaScript, and they have adapters, I believe, for Python and Ruby as well. So some really interesting things that we can do with OpenFin. I like this. This is JavaScript my way because it's very much of the web. I've been a web developer my whole career. And so taking the web and making it more powerful, I feel like is really the sweet spot of OpenFin, and I enjoy that. The other technology I want to talk to you guys a little about for having it your way is serverless. Now, I'm talking about the serverless framework, which is a little confusing because there's also serverless, the concept, but this framework helps you with the concept. So let me show you what I'm going to do here. All of the data for my sticker app, all this list of stickers, is being served from a function as a service endpoint. We'll talk about what that means in one moment. But effectively, I write this very simple chunk of code here. Whoa, that's not the drawing I wanted to do. My John Madden skills are not great. So in this 6 lines of code, I've effectively wired up my API. And what you'll notice is it's just a function. I don't have the rest of my app. I don't have any Express middleware set up or sales or anything like that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this serverless framework to make a change and deploy the app. So let me go ahead and cd into my API directory. What I want to do is I want to change the list of stickers so we have one for Hadouken, the open source project. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll save some time, and I'm just going to uncomment some code. This is the list of all of the stickers that I have in my catalog. And so you'll see here I have an ID, I've given a tag of financial, the name of it, a description, the path to the image, things like that. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And then I'm going to use the serverless framework to deploy this to Azure. So serverless is SLS. I'm going to say deploy a function, and my function is called stickers. That's where I go to get the list of all the stickers. So this will just take a moment. It'll log in. It will deploy this. Now, what's important here, and what this maybe is different than what you've done in the past if you're not using functions as a service, is because I'm not deploying my app, I'm not thinking about things like scalability, authorization, security around cores. All of that stuff is handled for me for free. And I only pay when my function gets executed. So if I walk off the stage right now, this is free because nobody's ever going to hit this. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into my app. Let's go ahead and hit it. I'll refresh the page. We'll come back. And now Hadouken has been added to the list. And of course, it's all wired up. So if I go to my repo stats and we look at Hadouken, we can see repo stats links up with the bus. Now, the serverless movement is really big in JavaScript right now, and in general, and for good reasons. And so I see serverless and functions as a service as the next evolution of cloud computing. And so kind of the first phase of cloud computing was IaaS, infrastructure as a service. This was bring your own VM. And I kind of like to think of it like home cooking, right? You have to, there's a lot that you're responsible for. You go down to the store, you pick the ingredients, you find the recipe, you chop everything up, you cook it. You basically manage everything. Now, you're not the farmer, right? You don't have the underlying infrastructure, so it is a good savings, but there's quite a bit of work that you still need to do. You get a lot of control that way. The next layer up was the PaaS, the platform as a service. This was bring your own app. You no longer had to think about the operating system or a VM. You just said, hey, here's my app, run it. Maybe you run it in Apache, maybe you run it in Nginx. I don't really know how you run it, but this is my app. It's very similar to going to a restaurant. You're no longer worrying about going to the store, ingredients, or recipes. You show up, most of that stuff is taken care of for you. You get about a dozen decisions and you say, oh, I'm gonna have the soup du jour. That's the soup of the day. I speak French. And then this new evolution that we're talking about is the functions as a service. This is Burger King, right? You walk into Burger King, it's a restaurant, but they got one thing on the menu. You're gonna get a burger. And because of that, they can execute at a cost that's far cheaper than anything else, which is true of functions as a service, and at a scale way bigger than any other way that you could build your own app. It's very prescripted about how you build your app. And because of that, you automatically get free scaling. The cost goes down because you only pay for what you consume. And so I really like fast and serverless. It's my way of having JavaScript because everything that I do is based on code and sits in the CLI. I don't have to have my ops people as involved. This is the configuration for getting that function to run in Azure. Effectively, I've said expose this as an HTTP endpoint. And so now I was able to hit it from my app. And if I don't like Azure for some reason, I can just change the configuration here and still use serverless to deploy to AWS, GCP, or OpenWhisk, or any of those providers. So it's really nice and interoperable. So that's the way that I like to have it my way. I think that you should have it your way as well, because honestly, it's the only way. If you want more information about what I've shown you, head over to azure.com/node or hadouken.io. I thank you guys very much for being here. You were great. I was awesome. And if you'd like, I'm not done. If you'd like, I'll be downstairs later with one of my colleagues at the Microsoft booth. We'd love to have a conversation with you and help you out with any questions you may have. Thank you all so much.